All right, I've got 12:01 on my clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get things started so you can all get back to your Friday as quickly as possible. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Allie Lynch. I've been the Executive Director of WEJF since February 15th of this year, and I welcome you wholeheartedly to this brand new, very first WEJF Impact meeting on Zoom. I'm really excited to offer this to all of you. The purpose of the semi-annual WEJF Impact meetings is to allow donors, representative of donor organizations, and the staff of our legal aid providers to learn what's new at WEJF, hear some client success stories told by representatives of the 3 legal aid service providers that WEJF supports, recognize our major sponsors, and get an update on our annual campaign progress to date. The main focus of the meeting will be the client success stories, as I wanted to allow donors the opportunity to hear the impact that your support is having on the poor and people with disabilities who are in need of legal help. There will be many thank yous on this call today because we would be nothing without our wonderful volunteer board members, our phenomenal beneficiary organizations, Disability Rights Wisconsin, Wisconsin Judicare, and Legal Action of Wisconsin, and you, our amazing, deeply caring donors. Your support of pro bono civil legal aid in Wisconsin helps thousands of individuals and families in our state through some of the most challenging situations in their lives, whether they're facing wrongful eviction, denial of earned disability, veterans, or other benefits, or another complex dispute. There's someone not on the call today who I want to thank as well. Melissa Sullivan served with WEJF for nearly 20 years. Melissa served in the executive director role through December 2020. She coordinated hundreds of board and committee meetings, processed thousands of donations, created tons of marketing campaigns, and made the Eisenberg Dinner a really nice annual event. She took the extra time earlier this year to ensure WEJF was passed off as smoothly as possible while she was learning a new full-time job herself. Melissa's deep care for WEJF has always been clear, and to board members and donors, Melissa was WEJF. So a big, huge thank you goes out to Melissa Sullivan first. I'm grateful for her leadership and her mentoring. So what's new at WEJF? As I said, I just started in February of this year as the executive director. You can see some information about me up on the screen right now. But a fun fact about me is that my husband, Matt, was a WEJF board member for a few years and served as president of the board in 2017. WEJF has personally been one of our top charities for a number of years now, so I was really honored and excited to have this opportunity to bring my various experiences in marketing, financial management, and nonprofit volunteering to a cause that means so much to me. Because the executive director is the sole employee of WEJF, and Melissa was based in Wausau and I'm based in Madison, the address for WEJF has changed to a post office box in Madison. The phone number has also changed, and obviously email address has changed from Melissa to me. The website is still the same. It's e-justice.org, and that will always have the contact information on it for you whenever you need it. What else is new at WEJF? We have a new president each year, and the president this year in 2021 is Margaret Wren Hickey from Becker, Hickey & Poster in Milwaukee. She's been on the board since 2014, and you might know her name most recently that she was just elected president-elect of the State Bar of Wisconsin. Our president-elect of WEJF's board of directors is Anza D'Antonio from Fiskars, and Marta Myers has been elected to be president in 2023, so she's currently serving a year as secretary. Other things that are new, we added some board members in 2021. For the first time, WEJF has asked 1 student and 1 staff member from each of the 2 Wisconsin law schools to serve on the WEJF board to provide more awareness about WEJF in the law schools and look for opportunities to partner with the schools. So that's everything new with WEJF. Here are some of the realities our beneficiary organizations, the legal aid providers, are facing in 2021. Evictions are skyrocketing without a moratorium in place. In fact, the attorneys you'll hear from in a few minutes tell me that the evictions are, quote, through the roof right now. Unemployment cases in 2020 increased 15-fold compared to 2019, and those case counts continue to rise in the first half of 2021. Students with disabilities have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and some of those impacts include many students with disabilities cannot benefit from virtual learning. The isolation and lack of social interaction has exacerbated some social emotional issues. Disciplinary issues have increased. The lack of masks have made students with underlying health conditions more vulnerable. And paradoxically, the requirements of masks has caused significant concerns for students who are unable to wear masks due to their disability. Most concerning is the fact that many potential clients had to be turned away in 2020 as the number of clients who were served by our providers. This is largely due to a lack of resources. So as the primary private funding source for these organizations, WEJF has the opportunity to step up and help meet more of the need in Wisconsin in the coming year. Despite those challenges our legal aid providers are facing, more than 10,000 clients are served by them collectively each year, and we have some great success stories to share with you. I think it's important for you to hear the stories about how the impact of your donations have on people's lives. And so I'm very happy to welcome Dina, Julie, and Mike from our beneficiary organizations to each share a story about how they have helped their civil legal aid clients. Dina, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Allie. So thank you, everyone. So just to give a brief rundown, I'm a staff attorney at Wisconsin Judicare. I have been here for 4 years. And for those who don't know, Wisconsin Judicare is like the legal action of the North. So we cover 33 of the northern counties, and we also assist with 11 of the federally recognized tribes in the state. So we do have an office that specializes in Indian law as well. I don't know how familiar people are with the area, but anything north of Wausau is pretty rural, and due to funding, we've had a very hard time doing outreach and getting a hold of a lot of people in our service area. Being in Wausau, we're pretty far from Superior, Florence County, and Ashland. It's hard to get to a lot of these populations that we really do ultimately want to take care of. So due to some recent new funds, we were able to get some more staff, and I got to be a beneficiary of some of this funding, and we are now doing more legal civil aid than we used to, in the sense that we now have a variety of different services that we can do now. And particularly that's with an expansion of housing assistance, an expansion of unemployment assistance, and a criminal record like expungements and arrest record removals. So that is something that we've been able to do in the past couple of years with this new funding. However, we had a huge problem of how do we tell people this is what we do, that we can now provide these services. And because these are services that people have asked for in the past, and we've had to turn them down and deny because we didn't have the funding and the staff for it. And suddenly we now have this. How do we reach out to those organizations, providers, and people to let them know we can now help you with this? And that's a common thing I hear a lot when I do outreach is, I got denied for this 5 years ago. Why can you help me now? And the answer is because of funding. And it's wonderful that I can say that and say we can now help you with this issue. So how do we get on the ground to meet these people and say we can do this? We've been doing outreach at job centers. So job centers are a great spot to meet people who are likely unemployed or partially unemployed, looking for work, and with all those implications too, potentially housing problems, trying to get benefits, social benefits. It's a great place, a starting point to contact people. So we're doing outreach at the job center one day in Eau Claire, and that's one of our busiest spots. We're busy all day with like 16 people, 1 hour appointments between 2 attorneys. It's a big day. So one of these individuals was a young lady who normally would not have been able to help, but we can now. And she came in to talk to us, and we took her on as a full rep. She was unemployed from work and suddenly unemployed. And in the background, she was sexually assaulted at work by one of her coworkers, and she reported the incident to her employer. Her employer was not very sympathetic, and her employer said, yeah, we'll do an investigation. Definitely didn't believe the client at all. Took her off the schedule, never put her back onto work. It was too much effort to deal with her complaint. She didn't want to mess with it. So this young lady applied for unemployment benefits. Well, she was denied at the determination level, and said that she quit without good cause. So we represented her in her appeal tribunal hearing. We lost at that level too. They also found that she quit her job for no good cause. Okay, so we write a beautiful brief up to the Labor and Industry Review Commission. They affirmed the appeal tribunal hearing, and this poor lady's devastated. She's already a victim going through other processes because of this incident, and she just can't get some basic unemployment benefits. Mind you, this also started prior to COVID, so she doesn't get all these extra benefits, and we don't have this backlog going on as well. So we don't do well at LERC, and so we go, well, should we take it to circuit court when we've been denied? Let's do this. So we brief it beautifully, take it up to circuit court. LERC files a brief against us, so does the DWD, and the judge in her oral ruling said absolutely she quit for good cause, and kind of admonished LERC and DWD for not understanding that she was sexually assaulted, and it doesn't really matter whether a conviction went through or not. Her quitting her job or being taken off the schedule was not her fault, and the young lady was awarded thousands of dollars in back pay pretty quickly, and was able to move forward with life, and she finally felt better about it. She was feeling like it was really her fault that she was assaulted, and definitely felt much better about the situation. And that's, we could able to do that, take it to circuit court because of the funds and the ability that we have to do that on staff right now. So thank you. That's my story, and I'll pass it on to Julie.
Thanks, Dina. I, like Dina, want to focus on the story of one client that I was able to represent through Legal Action of Wisconsin. I'm a staff attorney on the Road to Opportunity project in our Milwaukee office. That means that most of my work is focused on removing barriers to employment. We do this through helping clients apply for pardons, helping them get expungements, helping do background work cleanup. And then one of the areas that I in particular focus on is municipal and citation defense in municipal court or in circuit court. It's actually not that common that we get clients that need citation defense in circuit court. For you to get a case that's the equivalent of a municipal citation in circuit court, it usually means that you were on county or state property whenever whatever you're being cited for occurred. So in this specific case, my client had been at Children's Hospital in Milwaukee when she was given a citation for resisting and obstructing. So it ended up in circuit court. Now, this client had been at Children's Hospital for 10 weeks prior to the incident. She was on strict bed rest. She was pregnant. She had a high-risk pregnancy, and she already had a lot of trauma associated with being at Children's Hospital. My client had lost a child at Children's Hospital to leukemia a few years before, and now she was in a high-risk pregnancy on bed rest at the hospital for a very long period of time. When she did give birth to her baby was premature and had to stay in the NICU. On the day of the incident, my client was going to have some family members come to visit the baby who's in the NICU, and those family members got into an argument with hospital security. When my client went down to see what was going on at this incident, a police officer, or a sheriff's deputy, technically, approached my client, started screaming at her to get away from the incident, and was pushing on her. He literally pushed her up against a wall using his forearm, even though she was wearing a breast pump and had just given birth a few days earlier. And that incident is what she got the resisting and obstructing ticket for, was the fact that he had yelled at her to get away and that she didn't effectively immediately respond in the way that he was seeking. For whatever reason, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office took this case all the way to trial. We don't get a lot of trials in municipal and citation defense work. Most things, somewhat like criminal defense work, get resolved with negotiation between the attorneys. But for whatever reason, the District Attorney's Office felt confident that they were able to make this case at a trial, and my client similarly felt confident that she had done nothing wrong, and I 100% agreed with her. So we went to trial in circuit court on this issue, and we were successful in our trial. And she was found not guilty after a bench trial on the matter. Now, in a lot of ways for us, that's where the case ends, right? I get a case for municipal or citation defense. I resolve it somehow, either through negotiation with the city attorney or the DA's office, or through representation at a trial, like in this case. And once the trial's over and my client has been successful, it's just one more case. It's easy to get caught up, especially considering how many clients we have, with it just being a process. You appear at the trial for your client, you're successful, you wipe your hands clean of it and send a case closing letter and know that you did a good job. But for my client, it was a huge deal. She and her mother were both witnesses at the trial. And after the judge announced the verdict and we left the courtroom, her mother broke down in tears and hugged me. And it was at that moment that I remembered that this is why we do the work that we do. While for us, it could just be one more case in 90 other cases that I've got going on that month. For her mother, for her family, this was a huge deal. They knew that justice had been served, that they'd been able to access an attorney where they otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford one, that they were able to have that help, and they didn't have to go into a bench trial for a citation defense on their own. Because of donors like this organization, we're able to provide that kind of defense for these clients. And we're able to demonstrate to these clients that the justice system can work for everybody and not just those who are able to pay a lot of money for very expensive attorneys. I'm really glad that we were able to help her with this trial. Not only did she then not have a forfeiture that she had to pay, but it kept her record clean. She's had no other interaction with police her entire life. And my client has dreams of being a nurse, and she was afraid that even a civil forfeiture for resisting and obstructing would prevent her from eventually getting a license to practice in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm happy that we were able to keep that record clean for her. Now I'll pass it over to Mike.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Sukup. I'm a staff attorney with Disability Rights Wisconsin. Disability Rights Wisconsin is a protection and advocacy agency for the state of Wisconsin. It's part of a network of P&As across the country. Every state has one. And like P&As in those states, our Disability Rights Wisconsin focuses on various areas for assisting and advocating for people in areas of employment, housing, special education, rights and institutions. And through state funding, it helped create my position, which is I help people with disabilities who are involved in the criminal justice system. We don't do anything with criminal cases, but a lot of my work focuses on conditions of confinement for people who are in prisons and jails. The rate of people with disabilities involved in the criminal justice system, including people who are in prison, is disproportionately higher than people in the community. And that's especially true for people with mental health needs. Like many states, Wisconsin has the Department of Corrections is the largest institution that serves people with mental health needs by population. So DRW helped, through funding, help create my position, which focuses solely on accommodations for people who are in prison, access to mental health care, which is the the case I was going to talk about that I worked on recently. An individual had contacted us. He was in a medium security prison. He was doing relatively well. He had a lot of childhood trauma, and he'd been diagnosed with a severe mental health, had a severe mental health diagnosis, and he needed mental health care to remain stable. He received some news that regarding family members on the outside that would cause anyone to be upset and stressed out, and that caused him to revert back to some self-harm behaviors. And he really needed additional mental health treatment to remain stable. Unfortunately, though, the Department of Corrections handled the situation by increasing his security status. So he had to move from a medium security prison to a maximum security prison, where he was going to have a lot more restrictions. And due to his self-harm, he ended up being in restricted housing, which is the prison's term for segregation. He was there for, again, this is around the time that he contacted us, but he ended up being there for many months under those strict conditions without any property. The prison had obtained an involuntary medical treatment order, which resulted in him being restrained several times. And again, this was from the DOC's perspective in order to keep him safe. My advocacy involved getting records, and I began to contact prison staff about their obligations under the law, which were to provide someone with severe mental health needs the mental health treatment instead of these restricted conditions, which weren't helping him become stable at all, as well as inform them about the significant negative impacts that any amount of solitary confinement can have on someone, especially those with severe mental health needs. Eventually, my letters and my contact to the prison resulted in getting the attention of senior DOC administrators who were involved with mental health care. And while they informed me that there wasn't consensus about how to handle my client's condition, they agreed, and they won the day in terms of advocating for his release out of maximum security into a DOC institution that specializes in providing mental health treatment. And I believe that it was part of my involvement that helped make that happen. He had been there for months. And if it weren't for my position and my ability to focus on these issues, I don't know that I was concerned about his healthcare, certainly. And I think that it helped get him out of there and get to a more stable situation. I just want to add too that, you know, part of my position, there's certainly other organizations that work with people who are involved in the criminal justice system, but my position is somewhat unique in that it really focuses on something that a lot of people don't have, which is an agency that focuses on disability-related issues for people in confinement. And it's thanks to state funding and DRW's commitment to creating my position that allowed my position to happen. And I'm glad that it did. And I think this case is an example of it.
Thanks so much, Dina, Julie, and Mike. I think it's really, for me, I think it's really important to hear these stories. I think it really brings home the fact that the need is still there, the need is great, the need is real, the people that we're helping are real. And I just think it's fantastic, all the ongoing work that you're all doing at the three organizations. Thank you so much. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our major donors for 2020. They're up on your screen right now. And these are our major corporate law firm and foundation donors of 2020. That represents 60% of the total funds raised last year. WEJF is appreciative of their support, and nearly every organization on your screen has been a longtime supporter of WEJF, some since the very beginning in 1997. So thank you. I want to give a big shout out to our wonderful board of directors. These folks meet several times a year to help run WEJF, work their networks for donations and sponsorships, and help spread awareness about WEJF and the work that our beneficiary organizations perform. We had the best year ever last year, despite the pandemic, as far as fundraising goes. I'm really excited to share that with you. We continue to go up, and we have that opportunity to keep those results growing year after year. Now let's get to those results from this year so far. To date, since April 1st, which is the start of our fiscal year, WEJF has secured $141,000. $76,000 has been received. In that same time period in 2020, we received $84,000 and $86,000 in that same time period for 2019. So we're right on track to have another great year. Most donations for WEJF come in the end of the year. In fact, 30% of our donation dollars usually come in October and 12% each in November and December. If you have already submitted your donation to WEJF this year, thank you so much. If you haven't, the annual appeal letter is going to be sent in November next month. to previous donors, and that will include the usual return envelope that you can easily just send a check back into us in that. You can also donate securely online on the WEJF website at any time. The need is big, but any amount will help get us closer to being able to provide an attorney to everyone in need. So thank you so much. Thank you for attending this very first WEJF Impact meeting. Thank you for your support of the Wisconsin Equal Justice Fund and pro bono civil legal aid in the state. On behalf of the Wisconsin Equal Justice Fund Board of Directors and myself, we're so grateful that you're part of the WEJF community. If anybody has any questions, I welcome you at this time to unmute yourself and ask those, or if it's easier, you can certainly type the question into the chat, and I'll give you just a couple minutes to do that and see if anybody has any questions. I welcome feedback at any time. If anybody has feedback on this particular impact meeting or anything WEJF related, please let me know. My contact info is on the screen again, both my email address, phone number. You can phone, call, or text that phone number. And again, all of that contact information is available on the WEJF website at any time. Did anybody have any questions? I'm not hearing anyone. I'm not seeing any chat come up. Great. Okay, then I'll let everybody get on with their days. If there's no questions, I thank you again for attending. I hope to see you at the next WEJF Impact meeting in April, where we will reveal our final 2021 annual campaign results. A big, huge number to celebrate at that time. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Take care.